Hello, 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 and welcome to the Loudcast with me, your host, Kevin McLean, still here, still in my flat and leaf, and still bringing you some of the very best in spoken word poetry. We got a jam-packed show for you today, guys. I'm so glad to be joined by the wonderful Peter Hayhoe a bit later on from Muddy Feet Poetry, who's going to be chatting to us about his work as an online video creator, promoting spoken word and the amazing talent that he constantly showcases. And what we thought we'd do as a little trade-off with Muddy Feet, we've given them some videos that they're showcasing in their That Awesome Poetry Show series, which you should go and check out. There'll be bubbles and links and all that jazz, so go and have a look. And we thought we would showcase some of the awesome work from Muddy Feet Poetry. And in this case, I have picked two videos that are artists who I saw for the first time through Muddy Feet and subsequently booked for our Fringe show. They're both English artists who I probably wouldn't have got to see kind of otherwise. So yeah, the first up, I'm very excited to introduce this. He is one of my favourites. Just so impressed by his writing and performance style. He blew us away when he was part of our last Edinburgh Fringe run. This is Keith Jarrett with Poem.
This is a post-Marxist, post-feminist, post-colonialist, post-genderqueer, post-racism, post-postmodernist, post-retro, post-hetero, post-poetry poem. This poem is too cute to take on terms like intersectionality, like misogyny, like reality. This poem is drowning in the floods created by UKIP and those two men in the Macklemore music video holding hands and jumping into a sea of convention. This poem is intentionally still stuck somewhere in 2013, licking rusty hammers and swinging off dirty machinery. It is twerking on the head of a blurred line. It is being shot at by police at the same time history is being revised. The camera doesn't lie, and neither does this poem, but the truth hurts like a badly timed cliche and your ears are closed. Check your privilege, says this poem. Question authority, says this poem. Resist the government. Take your stroke-prone finger away from your chin and use it to drum on the skin of rebellion, says this poem. The water is troubled. This poem unsettled. Its lines are drawn.
That was Keith Jarrett there. I'm sure you will agree, an absolutely stellar performance. As will our next video be. Again, it's another poet I saw for the first time through Muddy Feet, and I was so pleased to have them on our stage. They were up for our last Fringe run at the same time as they were doing their own show, Too Pretty to Punch, which is the same title as this poem. It is A Daily a Day.
Normally I don't worry. Normally I don't see. Normally people going about their daily lives means nothing to me. But when I step out of line, when I dance out of sync, suddenly every moment is under scrutiny. Each card transaction wobbling doubt, fear in my throat, occasional shouts of abuse or quiet under their breath, but whether old lady or lout, there is one way out. Send. Be hot. Be pretty. If you're a girl, be as cute as a kitty. If you're a man, make your handspan massive and your stance impassive and your general demeanour hard. Sculpt your muscles broad and your chin picturesque. Stay on the handsome side of gritty. Be hot, be pretty. Play down any thoughts that are witty. Turn his heckle into a catcall. And you know you're finally acceptable when you're as equally harassable as any other she. Respect. From a subject of hate to someone they might date, when their lips salivate to the moves of your hips, you're a hit. She's a man, she's fit. I'd hit that, can't you see? She's acceptable, I'm cis, and she's prettier than me. You go, girl, you've made it. You pass for one of us. I would definitely think twice before pushing you under a bus. So kind, no, really, I'm tearful. Before I accept this award, I just want to say how honoured I am to know that I'm adored enough to be human. But what if it's actually the opposite, and the more pretty I get, the more flack I receive when I'm taken for just an eccentric man? Is that inadvertent privilege shielding me? And with each dab of cream, each reflect in a mirror, each selfie, each worry about getting thinner, am I just running full circle back to that punch? Corner, 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 wall. I've got a girl card. bona fide. This expired in 1995. It's been 24 days since someone called me a man. What do you mean you didn't know I was trans? I passed enough to be killed anyway. Wait, I've got to celebrate. Don't hit me, I passed. Don't punch me, I do. I'm not different. They said I could be human too if I worked at it, if I followed the rules. My friends said, my brother said, my sister said, my mother said, I pass. You don't. Your voice is too deep. I'm like Cher. You're not. No, I'm not, but please. I'm too cute to kill, too gorgeous to gut. I'm allergic to punches. They make me swell up. I don't want to become a statistic. I hate statistics. I shouldn't be here. Statistically, you're already dead. Who said that? I'm not afraid. I'm not too pretty to punch you, too titillating to torture, too much of a vixen to give kicks, and too ravishing to rip your throat out, too girly to grab, too fashionable to fight, too... Oh. The knife caressed her skin like a timid lover fumbling for 1,000 kisses, lips running red. Thanks.
Adelia Day there with Too Pretty to Punch. What a tremendous piece and an incredible performance. The energy and passion behind that piece is clear, and an amazing job to keep an audience connected and enthralled in such a sort of frenetic piece. I'm a huge fan of Adelia, so yeah, go and check them out. Our third and final video this week is not a pick by me. It is not our new release video. It is another video from Muddy Feet, and what I thought I would do is let our guest Peter Hayhoe choose his own, and he picked a poem that is actually the first video I think that went up on the Muddy Feet YouTube channel, and it is from Mary Dickens, and it is Dear Professor Brian Cox.
Dear Professor Brian Cox, we love to watch you on the box. The wife and I have to confess, it's not just the science about which we obsess. That time when you explained the quark, you ignited a certain spark. Soon we were having thoughts obscene, whilst you described the selfish gene. We feel it timely to profess, we'd love to meet you in the flesh. Please forgive us if we say, we'd like to share some DNA. We'll explore this urge like an electronic surge. Our entanglement will be quantum. And the wife assures her celestial orbs can be yours whenever you want them. So Brian, think on, if you can, come along to our Big Bang. With sufficient frantic motion, we might find our own Higgs boson. And if our lust should make you weary, we could just discuss string theory. Now please Brian, don't be vexed, it isn't just about the sex. We view your mind with great respect. We wondered at the solar storms and the sludge where life first formed. We listened rapt as with aplomb, you explained the atom bomb. You made clear to the entire nation the principle of gravitation, the source of the rift in the continental drift, why planets circle the sun, how oceans formed, how life began, and the laws of cell mutation. Brian, we will always dote on that breathless way you explain the proton. Even if it's not to be, we can watch your DVD. You're on the television so much, we don't really have to touch. We can contemplate Uranus, hypothesize about black holes, explore that darker energy, flick with you from pole to pole. We'd have loved to see you quite content between our hypothermal vents. But if you say no, it could be worse. There's always a parallel universe.
And that was Mary Dickens with Dear Professor Brian Cox, a hilarious poem, an excellent video, and I'm very excited to chat about the producer behind all the awesome videos we saw today. He is someone I've been dying to get on the Loudcast, actually, because we're in a fairly similar vein of work, I think. So I'm very excited to introduce to you all Peter Hayhoe. How's it going, Peter?
Yeah, it's going well. In sunny London. I'm just looking out my window. It's absolutely miserable. But
Dude,
but
you don't get to
everything's
complain about the
fine.
weather to a Scottish guy. That's not how this goes.
No, it's
We've got the monopoly on trash weather here.
sorry, Kevin.
I was just saying, in Scotland, we've got the monopoly on trash weather for the UK.
I know.
Are you surviving lockdown? Are you keeping busy, keeping well?
Yeah, it's been strange, hasn't it, to say the least. The last few months, well, it's almost 6 months now of strangeness. We thought we got over it, and now it could be a really cold, miserable, depressing Christmas. So let's.
It was literally as it was just getting to the point where I thought, oh, maybe we're gonna get some live events coming in start of the new year or that, and then it went straight back to no, another 6 months.
Yeah,
so.
it's scary,
Cool.
isn't it? For I don't know about you guys, but it's like it's just the uncertainty of everything. What is the thing? What gets you? So
Exactly.
But we still be doing what we do. We're martyrs for
That's all
punishment.
you can do, man. You just have to, you have to kind of keep plugging through. But I don't want to talk about the horror of lockdown and COVID and all that. We're here to talk about some spoken word and about what you're doing with Muddy Feet and all that good jazz.
Yeah.
So I wanted to chat about the poem we just watched from Mary Dickens. That, if I'm thinking correctly, is the first poem up on your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
right?
that was the very first video. We filmed a live event before that, and I think we had a studio session where we get in a group of poets and we film about 8 poets in a space of like 8 hours, and we'd only get about 12, 13 poems out of it. But that was our very first video and our launch video with Mary Dickens. I knew Mary Dickens. I'm not sure when Mary started, but it feels like it was like 2013, maybe 2012. And she used to come to a night that I co-run with a load of guys called Bang Said the Gun. And I sort of.
I like how you throw that out there, Peter. Like no one's gonna know what Bang Said the Gun is.
Yeah.
A little night, just a little night.
Yeah. Well, it's a fairly big night,
Yeah.
They're still doing stuff, but it's not. It's like more one-off specials they do now, and because of lockdown, they've had problems doing anything live. So and it's also like Robbie's getting massive, Laurie's doing big things. Martin's got his artwork and his job. Dan is doing.
They're a busy bunch.
Yeah, Dan's doing lots of pamphlets and lots of little poetry books. So they're all doing interesting stuff and keeping busy. So and I think what is happening now shouldn't stop you from trying to keep busy.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So back to Mary. When did you shoot that video?
That was. So it must have been about January 2015. January or February 2015. I think we launched our first video was about April 2015. So yeah, I would say it was around January, February time. So it was quite nice. It was quite nice because we had a nice clear night for the star shots and things like that. So it was quite.
I was going to say it's pretty good quality video wise for being the first thing you've thrown up. I'm trying to now go back and rack my brain for what the first thing that went up on our YouTube channel was. It's definitely still not there. That's for sure.
Oh, have you taken some content down then? Were you like not happy with it?
I don't know. I wonder because I
took some stuff down.
I think because I think some of the first stuff that went up on our channel was like very kind of grainy rubbish live footage, that someone had put together on a phone, and we threw up a YouTube channel before we'd kind of thought about what we were looking to do. So there's some very old videos up there that are kind of set to private that are not exactly what I'd put out. I think our first proper video that we were really proud of showcasing on the channel was Polos by Katie Ailes.
Yeah, because I think that was looked back because you guys are appearing. I don't know if you should. I should plug it now on that awesome poetry show. Some of your videos will be in the upcoming months, appearing on that. But I scrolled down and watched a whole bunch of videos, and I think Polos is Polos. I'm pretty sure Polos is the first video that is officially published on the channel, isn't it?
I think it might be, yeah. Actually, I should have checked before. I should know these kind of things.
I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm not 100% certain.
So why did you decide to go for something, kind of more bespoke and because I don't know what the term would be, right? I don't even know if we've got one for like a poetry music video, because it's not a music video, obviously, but it's kind of the same ethos behind it.
That's how I describe it.
Something
to
like
people.
Polos or
That's how I describe it to people.
Because I think if you said poetry video, they'd assume live event, wouldn't they? They'd think it's going to be someone behind a microphone.
Sorry, Kev.
If you were saying poetry video, I think people initially think like live event.
Yeah.
They don't think like music video. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I normally describe when it's a more detailed shoot. I call it like a poetry short or poetry short film. I think that's the best way to describe it, and people sort of gather the idea, because there are lots of poetry short films out there, but they seem to be done like a poet will do one poetry short film from some random organisation and never do another proper poetry short film again. It's weird, So was that what you were aiming to do? Was that why you kind of went with that first? Was it to try and be like, this is something we want to put more of them out there? Yeah, that was the idea. It's like a base where you can go and see a variety of videos involving spoken word and poetry. So like having good quality live events, filming good quality live events, because so many times, like when I was working back at Bang, I was doing the booking, and I would get people's videos, and they would be the mobile phone, off the camera types with really poor sound quality, shaking all over the place. It's the sound quality that's the worst. This ain't a good reflection on the poem itself, because the poem might be amazing, but you're distracted by the poor sound quality and the poor visuals. It doesn't heighten it anyway. It actually lessens it. So I was thinking, look, you get a couple of decent cameras, film a night with good quality sound, and try and capture the energy of a live night. So that's what I think both of us are trying to achieve, really, aren't we? Really. Absolutely. I mean, our thought pattern behind, when we started getting a bit more, because we started as a live event night, and then it was something that we kind of pushed towards eventually, was doing more online content, and it was kind of a response to, especially up here in Scotland, there was very little video coming out from spoken word. It was impossible to find anyone, and which is a nightmare as a booker, which is something I really wanted to talk to you about, because obviously we have the Fringe up here and things like that, and so when we were running live events that were, when we had the chance to bring up acts that weren't based in Scotland, I used Muddy Feet to figure out who to book, because
I mean, like I couldn't see anyone. That was, and your Muddy Feet was one of the first really consistent sources I found of showcasing really good poets and making it like a watchable format.
Yeah.
Like you said, with good sound and good video, and the poet's name displayed, and proper YouTube description with links so you can find them and things like that. Yeah. It was surprisingly lacking, and especially up here. I mean, I as much as more people are doing it now, I think we're still probably have more poetry content, like video wise, than any other sort of night in Scotland, just because we put the effort into to do it. But it takes quite a bit, like setup wise.
I think it's trying to discover. Oh, someone's trying to phone me. I'm like, oh dear, I'll switch that off.
We're busy chatting poetry.
Hopefully my
Call
house phone
later.
isn't going to go in a second. Sorry about that.
No worries.
No, that's what I think is so beneficial about what we do is you might be in a region, and especially it's quite good that we live in cities like London. You guys are Edinburgh based, aren't you?
Yeah,
and they've got spoken word scenes. But we've recently been had contact from people who are in different regions who might not be able to get to like London constantly for spoken word nights. So we've had people from all different parts of the UK do stuff with us recently because they know it's an opportunity to have a video where they can display what they do to bookers. So I think it's only a
it's
good
that thing.
thing.
I don't even think it's it's good. Like you make a totally correct point of there is a privilege to being based in a city where there are going to be more nights and more opportunity to gig and things. But I still think even then it's essential. You look at something like London, and it's one of the maybe criticisms that a lot of people have. It's not a unique viewpoint, but when you look at London, you tend to get a lot of the same acts popping up again and again. Yeah. And it's even, especially in lockdown, I found it very interesting when people can't have live events, they're putting on online shows and still seem to be booking the same poets, which is an odd thing. Whereas having video work out there at least allows for the potential to see people from other areas and doing other things. Like the two videos that I picked for the show that are also Muddy Feet videos were Keith Jarrett and Adelia Day. And I saw both of them through Muddy Feet and booked them for our Fringe show, and will absolutely look to book both of them again and stuff. And you only get that from I would never have been able to see Keith live or Adelia until they popped up somewhere up here. But yeah, I think more people should use it as a resource to kind of scout and book for live events. Do you do that? Do you kind of look for other videos to try and source who you're gonna book for things?
I do look on Apples and Snakes and things of that nature. A lot of the acts that I've booked, I've discovered through open mics and other people contacting me, because I've got to be honest with people that we are in the London region and we can't afford. They get a shiny video from us, but I can't afford their train travel down to London and such. So you've got to be it's got to be a balance, and there are, thankfully in London there is a wealth of spoken word talent, so we're lucky in that respect. But normally it is a point there that someone might recommend me someone, or they might just I might just discover them on an open mic, but it mostly that's how it works out. So yeah.
Nice. So in terms of Muddy Feet, who's involved? Is it primarily yourself, kind of putting things together?
Yeah, well, it's
But
it's
you
me,
use other
and
people.
he'll probably hate me talking about him. It's my friend Sammy Purcell, and he does the majority of the camera work. And then we have a few other people we work with to do like second camera stuff, and yeah, just general times when Sammy's booked up because he's a very talented uh, videographer in his own right, and he gets booked up massively. So it's only that we actually became friends through this process. I think he did the very first live night, what was boxed in, and then we started corresponding after that, and he actually did the Mary Dickens video. And yeah, and then just being in a room with someone, because I didn't know how to edit then. He used to do the editing, so I used to sit in a room and I say, "This is what I want, X, Y, and Z." And the good thing about Sammy is he's honest with me. He'd be like, "You sure about that, Pete?" And I would have to question whether I was sure about it. I would say, it would hate me saying that, 9 times out of 10, I'm sure about something. There's only a few times, but he would always, like, when we do stuff in the studio, he always offers up new ideas, and we're always bouncing ideas off each other. So it's good to have someone like that where you can just talk things through and go, okay, what if we do X, Y, and Z? And I think most of the videos that I really love on our channel and the exciting videos are us going, just not mucking about, but just playing around with ideas and seeing what sticks. And that's a really interesting
It's pushing
process.
the creativity, isn't it? Like, I think I totally agree. Obviously, everything we do is a collaborative process. There's a team here, and very much, similar to yourself, I didn't know how to edit or shoot or set up equipment or anything like that when we first started. And it was through working with Perry Johnson, who's our sort of main cinematographer, and other folk that you pick up those skills. But I think beyond just collaborating to learn new stuff for yourself, I think you get the best creative output when you collaborate and make something interesting. It's how you get from, what I mean? Like, I could take a camera even before I kind of knew better of what to do and shoot a live event. It might not look amazing, it might not be spectacular, but I'd be able to record it and you could view it and, fine. But the ability to take something like that and make it, more in depth, more focused, to be a real reflection of the poem, right? Like the Mary Dickens one that we were talking about is a great example of using the tone and the the vocabulary of cinema and film to reinforce the point that the poem is making or the tone that it's presenting. And I think you only get that from working with other creatives who are focused in their discipline. So working with filmmakers is going to make your stuff better.
I think there's I think if you've got, I don't know about you, like before Loud Poetry and Loud Poets, how long you were performing on the scene. I think having an understanding of the scene and poets as individuals helps you give that's why I wanted to work with Mary Dickens, because I had an idea, I had it all formed out in my mind what I would do with this poem, because sometimes you watch a performance and images appear in your head, and it's trying to capture those images and put them on screen and trying to get your interpretation of that poem on the screen and being faithful to it. And I think that's a really interesting process, and how you can like add an element, because I think naturally performing a poem live is different from reading a poem. It's different from a poetry short film. So it's adding an element what might be lost in another form. And
100%. And poets often don't have much experience in being on camera, and it's crazy how the click of a button can change everything about your performance. I've seen people who nailed a poem every time they did it live, you know, big bombastic performance and stuff, and then you put them in front of a camera, click that button, and suddenly they can't remember it. They you know, they lose that energy for it and stuff because there's not an audience to feed off. It's not the same space they're used to. You know, there's a million variables that go into it, and if you're not experienced in doing it, it can be it can phase
Well,
you.
it is. It is daunting. I've had stuff filmed of mine, and it, you know, like especially in like a studio, it's such a sterile environment sometimes, and we don't overcrowd our studio. There's normally me, Sammy, and one other person. You know, and that's it. But I can imagine it is sort of scary just, you know, playing it around in your mind because you've got more time to think about the words. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
You've got more time to go to not get that reaction and slip up in a way.
I think it's a bit to do with pressure as well. You know, it's like it's a thing I always go about. Like when I have a cold, the second I walk on stage, I know I'm not going to sneeze, and I don't know why, but my body just goes, no, you can't sneeze. There's 100 people watching you. Whereas, you know, you're in front of a camera. It just affects you psychologically in a different way. I find as well, and I don't know, I'm interested to see your opinion. This is just me picking your brain to see if I'm normal or if things are going reasonable. Because it's like, do you find that this is... But one of the things that I found really interesting is me and Perry did a series of videos. It was like commissioned by a poet, and they had never done... poetry videos before, the sort of poetry shorts, and I found it very interesting how like protective poets are over what they do, as opposed to someone like an actor who is used to kind of taking other people's script and other people's direction. Poets can be very precious over what they're doing, and especially when you're doing it as a short, you know, something slightly more abstract or creative, it can be kind of difficult to push poets to think out the box a bit. Like, surprisingly, for poets who are all about imagery and metaphor, I find a lot of them for a poetry short want something very literal.
Yeah, I think, you know, they bring their own set thoughts in to the table. That's a problem. They've got it in their mind. It's so hard sometimes to shake someone's thought process because it is their words, and I think it is in a way. You know, they are very protective over it, and I can sort of understand that. But I think you've got to be open up to new ideas, and I always find the people I enjoy working with the most are people who are up for any idea. Like Robert Garnham, for example. I could just say, look, Robert, what I'm going to do is going to flash images of broccoli in front of your video. It'd be like, fine, do it. You know what I mean? I'll be like, I'm going to float some octopuses around you. It'd be like, yep, that's it. And they love it. You know, I can do anything to a Robert Garnham video, you know, and it'd be like, I love it, you know. But I think you also, as the person behind the camera, have got a responsibility to listen to the poet, and when they give you feedback on it, to sort of understand and adjust slightly. Sometimes, very irregularly, I have an idea in my mind, and a poet will go, I don't really not agree, but I'm not sure that will work. And I always just say, let's just try it. Let's just try it. You can see it, and then we can go back to a simple idea if you want. Let's do a simple take, and then let's do this idea. And I think the majority of the time, something more exciting visually, a poet will always go for. It's just because they haven't.
Well, you don't have the experience in how
much.
you're put, you know, how film is put together and how things come out, you know, from Because sometimes things can look very strange when you shoot them, but they look great when they're, when it's finished. And so, like, being able to present to people, it's why references are so important, right? Of being able to go, oh no, it's going to look like this, it's going to look like that, it's going to sound this way. Although that runs into its own issue where, you use reference music or whatever, and then people can't get out of their head that piece of reference music. So that you need to go and find something that sounds exactly like it. So it has its own pitfalls. Yeah. How do you find, actually, I wanted to talk to you a bit about that in terms of music, because I know obviously there's music behind a lot of the shorts and stuff that you're doing. How do you find putting music and poetry together?
Fairly difficult because a lot of copyright issues. So there's loads of music and tunes that I would love to work with, but it's all copyright issues. One thing I always understand is the best music to pop with certain poems, like Mary Dickens' classical music, because it's out of copyright. It's familiar. In some instances, like when I first started the channel, I'm pretty sure YouTube didn't have. YouTube now do a library of music that you can use for your videos. What you can monetize. So there's loads and loads of royalty-free music there, and you can go through. What you do is you just basically type in your mood. So you're like, angry classical or jazzy calm. Or
this is so cathartic for me, Peter.
You might go
I've been there so often.
And then you have to go through 100 songs. Going, no, this is the first 5 minutes. No, listen to, not 5 minutes. Listen to the first 5 seconds. So that's how that process works. Really, it's about going through 100, not 100. I'm exaggerating, but quite a few royalty-free YouTube music clips and seeing what works with your video.
I've been there a million times.
But back in the day, only 5 years ago, there was only a few royalty-free sites, and they were pretty poor music. It was pretty dreadful. It was like everything sounded like it was done on a cheap cassette.
Yeah, it's all weird synth music.
Like the rhythm section or something.
It's funny because we use Artlist, which again, if people are maybe looking for tips and stuff of how to put stuff together, Artlist is quite expensive for a subscription, but if you can split it between enough people, it's all good. And it's got a great database for music, but you do waste hours typing in random buzzwords to try and generate the music you're looking for.
Yeah. Artlist, does it include like stock footage and stuff
Weirdly,
like that?
Artlist doesn't. I don't think it includes stock footage, but there is another. It's like a similar service thing that is an amazing site that has loads of stock footage and like deliberately shot stock footage. So it's one area, multi multi angles, multi movement, so you can really cover it. But again, it's like the subscription for that service is like £500 a year, so I'm saving up. But
no, it's so expensive.
But then I wonder if it'd be worth it to poets. If you could be like, hey, I can make you a video for £50 if you like, especially in lockdown, if you can send me audio and like kind of what you're looking for, I can you could put something together, because it's all shot so well on like really high-end cameras. You could make stuff really beautiful out of it, but it's making that initial investment to see if it would be worth doing. I don't know.
It's so dodgy, like monetization, because it's like the rules around use of material, isn't it? It's basically see, you can make some compilations with footage in certain ways, but you can't use it like, I don't know. I've been doing it for a while now, and I still can't get my head around it.
Yeah, oh,
you know,
it's a.
the use
It
of
is.
it.
It seems deliberately confusing. I always think when you get into all these issues of like licensing and ownership and copyright and what's what,
Yeah.
and you're just like, it's such a minefield. And I get why, right? You're trying to protect people's intellectual property,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you are you destroying people by putting out a poetry video? Probably not. Like, yeah, complicated issue.
Yeah. No, but what I hate is what happened to us. The Jasmine Man video.
Yeah.
What was I don't know. You've heard it. It went
Yeah.
viral, and it went viral on all these sites in America, like hip hop sites. It was about Kanye West. But then on YouTube, you got people with our video, and then cutting out the first bit what said "Muddy Feet" live at Boxed In, and cutting out the end and making it it was really bad quality footage, and then they were trying to make money off of it, and I was like, no, I can't.
That's
I
crazy.
can't have it. That like I was chatting to Jasmine about it because it all kicked off, and I was like, yeah, there was, because it was, the worst thing about it was they were all saying like falsely advertising the video. They're saying, Jasmine Man, look what Kanye West ex says about Kim Kardashian, and it was like all these stupid like tag headlines to get attention to the video, and like we got a massive boost, but there was one who had one of these like catchy YouTube slogans, and they had 500,000 in 2
That's
days.
crazy.
And I was like, look, it's nothing about the poem itself. It's just people
Clickbait
going,
title, yeah.
oh, look
yeah.
what Kanye West's ex is saying about, and it's she I don't think she's ever met Kanye West. It was just a commentary on Kanye West as a person and his political beliefs.
But then at that point, Peter, you've got to
it was
explain the
just
concept of poetry to these people. It's based on, it's like an idea
Yeah.
rather than.
Yeah, so
That's crazy.
yeah, that was a mad time. So yeah,
I wanted to ask you
it
about
was
that actually, because I it's obviously a huge thing. Like, it helps massively. Like, it's hard to build any sort of channel. I think especially within spoken word,
Yeah.
there's not a huge community looking for it. Compared to some other things.
Yeah.
It's hard because obviously poetry titles are often quite vague, and so they're not very searchable. You can see quite clearly, like, some of the most popular videos on our channel are like Harry Baker's Monopoly, because all the words in that sentence are searchable, like Katie Ailes out with, because people are looking up that a lot, so it's, you're trying to find those things. But like, obviously with that Jasmine poem, it took off. Like, I guess that must have been a pretty exciting thing for you, right? How long into that was the channel around for?
That was December 2015. I went to a wedding, and I thought I was gonna get fairly drunk. So what I did was I decided to leave my phone at home.
Smart man.
And I did get decidedly drunk. And then in the morning I woke up. I didn't check my phone when I got in. I woke up and there was like a million notifications on my phone, and I was like, what the hell is
Something's
what
either
the
gone
hell
very
is
good or
happening
very
here?
bad. That's the.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. It's like, we don't have it with our other poems. Like, we will occasionally get a comment in our comment section, but it's like, I've turned off the comment section for Jasmine's video because there was a lot what I would say abuse and a lot of things. It's hard, you know, because I'm a white male and I can't. There's certain arguments that I can't get involved in. You know, about race when a poet is speaking about race, because it's not my place. You know, I'm just here to put a platform for poets to discuss issues and stuff. So what I decided to do was just turn off all notifications, turn off all comments after it got to a stage where I thought, you know, the lines of conversations are quite I don't know, not uncomfortable, but you know, there was a lot of abuse on that in the comment section, and I was just, it didn't sit well with me.
It's terrible,
really.
man.
So,
You're like, people are just trying to, because you know, it happens fairly regularly. You know, fairly regularly up here as well, where you get like someone like, you know, Gray Crosby did a poem, and it was about haircuts. You know, getting a haircut as a trans person. And like the nightmare that is, and it's like a fairly funny poem.
Yeah.
You know, that you've seen a million versions of for other subject matters, where it's like, here's a niggly thing that annoys me that maybe in the background has a bigger message, right?
Yeah,
But it's that's the subtext of the piece, and people have went mental about it and just like totally kick off. And you're going, it's a poem about a haircut. What is going on in your life that you have to jump on a computer and type out a screed of hate to someone? It just I'll never grasp it.
I think people have got too much time on their hands, and I think recently I've noticed, because of lockdown, like people's thought processes are getting narrower. And it's sort of a scary situation where we can't listen to one another, and we can't take in other people's points of view, and like I think you got to deal with everything with empathy and understanding. That should be the core of any argument, and your being as a person. And I don't think there's much empathy or love in the world at the moment. It's a very hard, cruel place, it seems. And
so that brings me, Pierre. You're the king of setting me up for segues here. You're nailing it. Speaking of lockdown and the need to, you know, rethink our patterns of thought, what you've been up to a lot in lockdown, and I know, like me, you'll have definitely found it difficult because it's real hard to shoot new stuff when you're not allowed to be in the same room as anyone. Yeah. So like, what have you been doing? Cope. Obviously, you mentioned at the start of the show, and I've been enjoying it a lot. That awesome poetry show that people should check out. There's links in the description below. There'll be a bubble that you can click, go and check it out. But that's kind of a way to utilize. You know, footage that you already have, right? Whether that's stuff that hasn't been released or stuff that hasn't been out there for a while, and we're doing not a dissimilar thing with this show, where, you know, it means we can, you know, put out, you know, the new video that we've just released, or you know, something from the vault type thing. Has that been mostly what you've been doing, trying to figure out how to exist with, you know, existing footage?
Well, we had a little period of time in the summer where we filmed some poets outside around my local area, was like around Crystal Palace Way in South London. So we had, because what I normally always would do, because I wasn't a fan of filming outside, because there was, the problem with filming outside is you're not fully in control of the elements. So like you've got a lot of around here, there's a lot of planes coming in from Gatwick, just generally people walking by, the clouds, weather. So it can be an absolute nightmare to film outside. But actually, the last two shoots, what I filmed outside, I actually really enjoyed doing, because
nice.
It was trying to get over those, figure out how to get over those difficulties. And the best thing was, what I didn't realise, there's an app now for planes going overhead. So I don't know what it's called. Sammy had it on his app. So he had this app, and he would check up, and he was like, okay, and it would list the flight. It would say, okay, there's a flight, the Airbus so-and-so going to Cyprus from Gatwick. It would have the details of the flight and what time it would be going over your head. What I was really interested, and then it would like say, oh, there would be like a five-minute gap between planes, like, because we're just off of a flight path, so it would sort of tell you when planes were heading over your way. So it was actually really good. So we were like, okay, we got 5 minutes. What puts a lot of pressure on the poet? Just to say,
go.
You got to get it done in this time. Otherwise, there's a plane going overhead, and we have to do it again. So, but yeah, little things like that. Technology, thankfully, helped us. And
well, it's things you wouldn't think of, right? Until you're in the situation where you can't get 10 uninterrupted minutes because of a plane.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily think of that. I always remember when I was younger, I used to think producer was like a pretend title that like people got on films because they owned the company or whatever.
Yeah.
And like since I've become a producer, I've realized that it's an absolute nightmare job because it's literally your job to anticipate the unpredictable things, right? Like to go, oh no, there might be planes, we need to, adapt to the light situations and things like that. Even knowing, okay, you have to go film outside because you need to keep up on, the regulations around filming because of COVID and things like that. It's a bit of a thankless job, I think.
Yeah, but it makes you actually appreciate where you live, because I was walking around there and there was little roads, and there was a park that I never knew what is about a mile and a half away, because Crystal Palace Park is quite a big park in South London, and everyone flocks to that park. So it's like no-go zone. It was a nightmare during the summer, but like a really nice little cute park we found, and like we did all our filming there, and it's something like, I wouldn't have found that park or gone to that park if it wasn't for looking for locations to film. So it's interesting, and like little bits, you got your eye on little bits of architecture and little bits of and buildings, and thinking what would look interesting on camera and how can we do this differently. So yeah, a lot of the times it is about like discovering things. When you're in an outside environment, you might not have so much control. Like what I love about studios is you can do things with lighting setups, and you can do, you can do really interesting things with the camera, and you've got quite a lot of control. You're limited because you're in a room, and you've only got the four walls and whatever, But within those limitations, you've actually got quite a lot, and that's what I find interesting is when people have got an opportunity to do something what is slightly different, and it might be only like, it might be only using multiple cameras, or it might be only like a slow close up. That people don't do that; they rather just stick a camera there and press play and roll.
A little movement makes all the difference.
Little things to make it more intense. So many times you might not even notice, but like lots of our cameras have got like we pan and do slow close-ups and things like that, just to make it, just to add an element, and a lot of the times people don't even notice it. But it adds
because
an
it's
intensity
about because that's the beauty of like film language, the vocabulary of film, right? Is it's like you're not supposed to notice it, because good film, you don't notice the camera, right? But like the camera is obviously never operates, unless you're doing something very stylistic. It very rarely operates like a human eye, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
doesn't move the way you would view something. But like doing that subtly, one of my favorite things that we've put out during lockdown was Katie during NaPoWriMo in April did this poem. This poem will be funded, and it's like a daft poem about the nonsense of funding applications.
Yeah.
And it's her delivering it behind a desk, and that would look really good. But when you just put a slide rail up and slowly pull the camera in, and every time she looks up from her pad, the camera freezes.
Yeah.
And it's just such a slow, fluid movement, and the stop isn't jarring, but it creates this really creepy vibe to it. Like you're slowly stalking up on her. And I doubt anyone that has watched it would go, I particularly like the slide movement in this, the slow, like, but it will have affected their viewing.
We're not here to get pats on the back, but
no, I am Peter. I want the pats on the back.
Always get the pat in the back, and it's like, we were apart. We did some little trickery here and there. You know what I mean? To get that video looking spot on, and that's the thing is there's a few things you can do, just like simple things, to make to attract the attention of the like the viewer. I was gonna say, I'll say that line again. You could do a few things to attract the attention of the viewer, and because when I started this, I that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be like any other. There was a few videos out there.
Yeah.
What was just really basic, simple, and I think they were just like, you know what, we can put a camera there, and we can get some hits because this poem is great. The poem might be incredible, but if you haven't got an atmosphere around it, you're like, speaking into a void almost.
Totally. Totally.
So,
Peter, I could chat to you about this forever, and I think we're gonna carry on, have a little chat on the Loudcast Extra, which is over on our Patreon channel. So patrons will get that if you're a $3 or above patron. And I did want to mention actually when I was bringing up Patreon that Muddy Feet also have a Patreon account. We support them. You should as well. So jump over to Patreon and check out their stuff. You guys are putting out a bunch. I always like getting my little email notification of when Muddy Feet are putting things out. I keep an eye on it.
The interesting thing is they're becoming smaller and smaller because of COVID. I'm mostly writing about my life now.
Yeah.
I'm mostly like, I'm sat, depressed in my underpants, seeing what's going to happen next. So before it was all about the work we're doing, and well, that's the thing with Patreon, with the Loud Poets, with us. It's trying to, hopefully, you guys will support us over this unsteady period. It's been
one of the only ways
I've do what we love.
It's been one of the only ways that I've stayed alive. You know what I mean? Like my wage disappeared, and that little bit of money coming in from Patreon makes a considerable difference when you're down to nothing. You know what I mean? I know as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Process Productions, who are also doing amazing stuff, like putting video work online, and like a lot of like documentary work and interview work and stuff. Like there are people out there trying to make it. So if you like spoken word, if you want to see more of it shot well and in quality, then jump over to Patreon and find some folk. I've got links below. But Peter, where else can people see your work? Where can they find you?
Basically, we've got all the platforms. We've got the Instagram. Everything is Muddy Feet Poetry. So at Muddy Feet Poetry.
And I'll obviously put links down below if you're looking for a direct link.
Yeah, you can follow me at Peter Hayhoe Poet. But most of the times I just retweet Muddy Feet stuff.
It was one of the first things Kate said when she
don't perform like I used to. Yeah. My producing, directing, editing hat has been on for quite some time. So and also I want to give a shout out to you, talking about people who are doing incredible stuff. I am surprised that they haven't got more followers. There is an American company who make short films, poetry short films called Motion Poems, and they make some incredible stuff. And if you look them online and follow them, we, along with I Am Loud Poets, we have their videos appearing on our compilation shows, and they are really breathtaking. So definitely check them out as well. So,
Excellent. Yeah, go and check everything out.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Kate said one of the first things she said when she was, because she was kind of doing research, and she was saying, it's funny, Kev, Peter's exactly like you. His Twitter is just retweets of muddy feet, which is what my Twitter is for I Am Loud. When you sacrifice any self promotion because you have a company, right?
Yeah. The problem is, I think if I didn't have wasn't a producer of Muddy Feet, I would leave social media completely.
Yeah,
you know?
me too.
I'm tired of social media. Like I don't have to describe what my day is going to be in the minutest of detail. I'm at that age where I'm becoming a bit of a grumpy old bugger, and I'm just like, no, I don't care what you have for breakfast, you know. So yeah, if I before when it was MySpace, I used to update it constantly, but now.
Man, you're dating yourself there. You're dating yourself here. But yeah, so don't go and follow Peter on Twitter. He doesn't want you to. But go and follow Muddy Feet because he does want you to follow that one.
Follow Muddy Feet Poetry.
Exactly.
It's the same thing basically. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, thank you so much. I know we're going to stick about and have a chat on the Loudcast Extra, but for now, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that good jazz, and we will see you again next time. Peter, say goodbye.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, we'd appreciate it if you could hit the like button, if you could hit the subscribe button, and make sure to ring that bell icon so you don't miss any updates from us in the future. If you want to go that extra mile and support us a little further, we do have a Patreon channel with loads of exclusive goodies, and you can sign up for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate your help, guys, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.